And now we are looking at the tax part of Budget 2017. With us in the studio, we have Roelofse, who's the tax director at Deloitte. Welcome, Roux.
Thank you, Mushfiqah. Hello.
Roux, the headlines are reading 28 billion rand increase in taxes. How bad is this budget, and what does it mean to the ordinary South African citizen once again, to the normal person paying their taxes? What does 28 billion rand in taxes mean?
Mushfiqah, for the ordinary person, it is actually rather good news. There is not much increased taxes for the ordinary person. I'm afraid that it's the wealthier members of society that will pay more. So the big funding of the 28 billion comes in through an increase in the marginal tax rate from 41% to 45%, yes, which is quite a big jump. That's for incomes, taxable incomes in excess of 1.5 million rand.
So that's not you and I.
So the ordinary person would say, well, that's not me.
That's not me.
Yeah.
That's not me.
That's a big increase, and there has, at the same time, there's been less relief given for inflationary increases in salaries. So that gets to about 16 billion of that. The other big increase is in the dividends tax rate. So if companies pay out dividends to their shareholders, there's a 15% tax rate on that. That's been increased to 20%. Also quite a big increase. And that is explained through the marginal rate that's gone up to 45%. So companies pay tax at 28%, that stays the same. So the 20% brings the effective rate to almost 43%, which is close to the 45%. So they need to track that. But again, it's people that have got the money to invest in shares that will pay more. One needs to bear in mind that pension funds and retirement funds are not subject to that 20% or the 15% current dividends tax. Okay. So again, for the ordinary person, probably not that much, but for the wealthier individual that can invest in shares, certainly will pay more tax. And then the benefit comes in through an increase in fuel levies, where in fact everyone will be hit. There's a 30 cents per litre increase in the fuel levy, and also an increase in the road accident fund levy. And that gets you to the number, to the 28 billion.
That's good news. That seems to be slightly better than what the headlines are screaming at the moment.
Yeah, look, the question, of course, and now we get into a philosophical discussion, is how much can you tax people?
Yeah.
You know, 45% you want those high earners, the entrepreneurs, to come in and to generate jobs and do what the government wants to do, radically transform the economy, which is the slogan in this budget when you listen to Mr. Gordon.
Transformation was the word of the day.
Yes, and it's a radical transformation. So clearly, you want to get the people that are going to pay all those taxes to stay in the country and to generate the jobs. So you want to tax them, but also not too much. So how far can one go? 45% is probably, we're getting to the upper end of what is palatable, I would think.
Yeah.
But yes, it could be worse, but politics, the art of the possible. The minister needs to cut spending and he needs to increase taxes, and that's the call he's made.
It's the balance.
It's the balance.
Now, we haven't heard anything about VAT. We haven't heard a word about VAT. Does that mean that it stays the same?
It means that it stays the same, and it is highly contentious for the people that have been affected by this 28 billion rand increase, because there's a lot to be said for VAT being a tax that it's everyone, and everyone contributes where you spend. But of course, it's a regressive tax in the sense that the wealthier is, the less you get affected percentage-wise by the money spent. So in that respect, it sits there still at 14% after all these years, and it's crying out for an increase. But maybe that's the nuclear option for the minister, and he doesn't want to use it as yet. Huge political resistance if it's going to go up.
And socioeconomic resistance.
And socioeconomic resistance. I think there are other battles to be fought at this point before we go there.
That's not to say that we're not going there in the future, because if you do look at the VAT rate in South Africa, it is relatively low in comparison to many developing countries in Africa.
Absolutely. And there's still big plans on what needs to be financed in future. We've got the national health and all good other things. And it's probably being retained for a point in time when there is more money needed and you can tie it to a specific initiative.
Roux, there was reference around tax avoidance and that it will be addressed through government signing a multilateral instrument. What exactly would that be?
Yes. So that's where the techies become excited,
Yeah.
people that practice in the field. The multilateral instrument is an instrument that will be signed by many governments around the world, and through their signature, they can amend all the double tax agreements in place between countries. So South Africa has a network of double tax agreements with different countries. Now, if we become a signatory to that multilateral instrument, we can at one sweep amend all the treaties that we're a party to if the other treaty partners also sign that multilateral instrument. So it's a way of avoiding all these double tax agreements that are in existence that try and regulate how taxes are allocated between countries. It's a way of, instead of all of that being renegotiated, having one instrument being signed up by many parties and then that change being affected globally.
What do you think could have been done differently in this budget?
It's difficult to say. You know, what can the minister do? You know, does he
within the constraints and
within the constraints
working.
The big challenge here for us is that we saw debt as a percentage of GDP going up to 48%.
Yeah.
I think the challenge is that we don't fall into the debt trap. So we need to reduce expenditure. If we need to increase taxes in order to stabilize and consolidate the fiscal framework and avoid us falling into that debt trap, then I think everyone would be, certainly I would be in favor of the additional pain that we're taking now. But we need to understand, and the minister I think understands it very clearly, that we are getting to a ceiling, I think, in what we can earn significantly in additional taxes from the wealthy. Now we're starting to look at VAT. Already fuel levy taxes are quite high.
Yeah.
Income taxes probably don't have a long way to go. The tax base also is so narrow. You know, you mentioned...
So we are reaching our ceilings
We
now.
are reaching, I think we're getting to a point. You don't also want to get into a system where there's a permissive sense about tax, people trying to evade taxes. You want to create that culture of compliance and broaden the tax base. What could you have done differently? You might have spent less and increased less taxes. Is it politically possible? Very difficult to call that.
Thank you so much for coming in, Roux, and
You're
thanks
welcome.
for your great insight into the tax and budget 2017.
Thank you. Thanks.